Okay, so now we are in Photoshop, and now we're going to convert it into black and white. I typically like to start off in Lightroom, and sometimes I'm like, it's good enough, but I like to bring it into Photoshop because I like to add texture, and I want to share with you a couple of tricks that I've learned along the way, a couple of hacks. Okay, so in order to convert this back into black and white, there's a couple of ways to do this. Usually, whenever I use the basic panel method, whenever I use this, because it has lower contrast, I find that that is a great candidate to use the gradient map. And so you just go into a gradient map and you go here like this, and that it gives like the darks like a really black, rich color, which I really like. Okay. But whenever I use the curve method, I find that the curve method, if we look down here, the curve method gives me more contrast and more of a 3D look. So whenever I use the curve method, usually I won't use the gradient map. Usually I'll just use a hue saturation and lower the saturation. Today we imported the combo method, so it's kind of in the middle. So it could work. I could either use the gradient map and then just use curves to lift anything if I wanted to. But let's go ahead and try a hue saturation. I didn't script this, by the way, guys. I'm editing as I normally would. And you could see here that there's detail in every part of the image. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I could also turn on the hues, the gradient map underneath, and then just lower the opacity. I could do that. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get rid of this. Okay, so this is going to be the method to convert back into black and white. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share with you a little hack, a little trick that I like to do. I like to bring out a black and white layer, not to convert it into black and white, but rather to work on luminosity. So I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to switch it from normal to luminosity. So now I'm only going to be affecting the brightness of every color. Okay, and I am going to turn on the hue saturation, so we're in black and white. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lower the yellows, and you see the yellows, it's going to bring her contours. Look at this, look, see how it changes, right? I mean, these are extremes, right? Paula, sorry if you're watching this. I'm not trying to do anything unflattering for your face. Okay, so usually I like to bring the yellows down. This is probably too much. And then I like to play with the reds a little bit. So I'm going to leave it maybe right around there. This is a different effect than using curves, by the way. Okay? Or at least it feels that way to me. It gives it kind of like a bronzed type of, like tanned type of look. Okay, now so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a curves adjustment layer. And I'm going to measure. And now her skin tones have dropped quite a bit. Her contours are pretty much in the blacks, which I like. I've seen several photographs where the contours of the skin are in the blacks on backlit photos, and the skin is in the grays, and it looks great. But I think that this may be a little too gray for me. So I am going to click on that, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to bring the dot up. This is a feature that Photoshop has for their tone curve that I wish Lightroom had. I am using a very outdated Lightroom, by the way. Maybe the new one has it. Okay, so her skin tones are where I want them to be, and her shirt is where I want it to be. Now, the tree is not where I want it to be. I want to lower the tree. But if I click on this now, see, watch what happens. If I click on this now, and I start to lower it, I think the contrast is just, it's too much. I don't like that, okay? So I'm gonna get rid of this dot. Okay, so the reason why I like to bring photos into Photoshop is because I can select certain parts, okay? And we talked about that. So I want all of this to be darker, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I am going to get rid of this first. I'm going to bring up a curves adjustment, which we just brought up before it crashed. And I am going to select the layer mask. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to select color range. Okay. And I'm going to choose this here. And what it's going to do is it's going to pretty much select all of the dark images in the photograph. Okay, this is a really awesome hack. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. All right, and now I'm going to hit Option and I'm going to click on the layer mask. And so everything that is in white, it's going to be applied to. Okay, and everything that is in black, it's not going to be applied to. So what I want to do is I'm going to darken everything that's highlighted white. So that means that it's going to darken her eyes a little bit, it's going to darken her face, and it's going to darken, it looks like it's going to darken here, the shadows in her legs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush and I am going to deselect, well, let me see here. I'm going to deselect her eyes. I don't want it to darken her eyes. Okay. Okay, her shirt, I don't know, her shirt might already be dark enough. Okay, you know what, let's just try it and then I can always erase it after. Okay, so now basically what's going to happen now is when I go here to lower this, it's only going to affect those areas, right? So you see that? Whatever was highlighted white, it's only going to affect those areas. Okay, and we don't want to go too much. So what I'm going to do here, let me reset this. I'm going to go back here. And I'm sorry this video isn't like super refined, guys. I'm just, I'm sharing with you literally how I post-process. Okay, so her shirt, I don't want her shirt, her skin to be affected. Okay. And I don't want her legs to be affected either. I just want the foliage to be affected. So hopefully you understand why I'm painting this black. If it's black, the effect won't, curves will not be applied to that. It'll only be applied to the other parts, okay, that are in white. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this down and that's good for me. I like that, okay? So let's look at it before and after. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I like to bring it into Photoshop. Okay, now this is at this point, let's say that I wanted to do some retouching. The way that what I would do in order to retouch this is I would take all of these and I would make it a group, and this is our black and white edit right here. Okay, and I could do like dodging and burning on her face. I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, and to do the retouching, I would retouch here in color, okay? And so the only thing that I would fix here, she's got amazing skin. The only thing that I would fix here is there's like a tan line here. And so I'm just gonna take a little clone stamp thing, okay? And I'm gonna go down here and I'm just going to take this and kind of just blend this a little bit. Okay, just like a tiny little bit. And sometimes I use this technique or this method whenever I want to transition like from like a bright part to a dark part. I could also use frequency separation. Let's look at this. So yeah, that's less distracting in my opinion. I'm going to go here to blend diff just to make it a little bit more realistic, that transition. And right around there. Okay, and I could go into the face and make adjustments to the face, but Paula's got an amazing face. One of the things that I really enjoy about working with Paula is that when we shoot together, now I'm just deleting little stuff here. When we shoot together, we have an unspoken agreement about shooting natural. Not really doing a whole lot of crazy retouching, or there's certain people that I work with that after I retouch the photographs, they go and they put like Facetune times 1,000. And one of the things that I like, which is fine if that's what they're into, but one of the things that I like about Paula is that there is a natural, we have this natural flow. I'm debating whether I should take that out. I don't think that's a birthmark. I'll take it out. I'll leave it in. Who cares? Okay, so now we have our final edit. I want to check it before I close this file and before I add texture to it, okay? And because I've been looking at the computer for quite some time, I find that it's very helpful if I see it on a different screen. So what I'm gonna do is before I close this, I'm gonna double check this with a little hack that I'm gonna share with you. And I'm gonna check this on my phone. So before I make any other adjustments, because I still want to add a layer onto this of texture, what I want to do is I want to go to Save for Web, okay? And I am going to minimize this a little bit, okay, so that I could see what it looks like small. I'm going to hit Save, and I'm going to go to my desktop, okay? So I'm just going to go here to the desktop, okay? And I'm going to hit, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this Paula. Okay, and then I'm going to call this file Paula 1 or version 1. I'm going to hit save. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my Wi-Fi off, which I've had off because I don't want messages coming in while I'm doing this. And then I'm going to go over to Finder. I'm going to go to Desktop. I'm going to go to that folder Paula. Okay, and I am going to share this through AirDrop and send it to my phone. Okay, and there's my phone. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it on my phone, okay, and just kind of give it like an inspection. That looks good to me. I usually like to put it into this app Enlight, and I like to put it on a backdrop. It's a black and white that I was working on. Okay, and I'm going to put it on a, okay, and that looks good to me. I like that. I'm happy with that. Okay, so a few things that I've noticed. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to add texture to this. It's just something that I've been doing lately. So I'm going to go to Open Recently. Paper 27 is the paper that I'm using. And I'm going to copy this. Okay, and I am going to paste this. Command T. I'm going to go over here to rotate minus 90 degrees. Then I'm going to stretch this out, and I'm going to add texture to this, okay? Now, this obviously just covered all of my work. I'm going to go here from normal. I'm going to go to soft light. And if this was a color photo, and even for a black and white photo, you don't want this nasty color on top, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a hue saturation layer, and I'm going to link this saturation layer to the paper layer, okay? So that it only affects that layer, okay? So I'm gonna lower this saturation, and I'm gonna link it just to that. And then I'm gonna group these two together. And I do it this way because when I add texture to color photos, you know, I don't want the entire photograph to be black and white. Okay, so one of the things about this particular texture that I'm using is that when I add it at 100%, you see how it lifted up those dark sections there, and I don't really want that. And then also it's too much texture. So I'm going to go from 100 and I'm going to go down to 50%. That's typically my starting point, is 50%. And then this is our edit for today. At this point, I'm just going to flatten the image, okay, and then I'm just going to close Photoshop, and it will send it back into Lightroom. So guys, I hope that I was able to offer you some value. I have found that by doing this, I'm more consistent in the style that I'm doing, and it's also helping me with my color workflow. So I'll be sharing a video on that later. If you would like me to do more videos where I just edit without so much explanation, but just edit, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. And yeah, hopefully you made it this far into the video, and I will see you in next week's episode, okay? All right, bye.